Hey superstars, welcome to the Get Rich Without Being a Bitch podcast, and I am your host Vanessa for this journey. We're going to be challenging some stereotypes, shattering glass ceilings, really looking at what it takes to live richly and to design a business that's going to support the life that you really want to be living. I'm going to be sharing lots of tips, tools, and strategies along the way, and I can't wait for you to join me on this journey. Hey superstars, welcome back to another episode of Get Rich Without Being a Bitch. This is the real and raw conversations about what it really takes to get ahead, live the life of your dream, be financially empowered as a businesswoman, and frankly, do it on your terms as well. With that in mind, I want to dive into a really important topic today that is something that I hear an awful lot as probably the number one excuse for not being able to get ahead and not having that business that is able to fuel your dreams, the business that gives you the freedom, frankly, the business that you went into business for in the first place. And this is time. It is probably the number one, as I say, I'm going to call it an excuse because I really do believe it's an excuse. Most times it's not a legitimate reason for not being able to get ahead. And I want to unpack this. This is probably the number one thing I hear is just, I'm too busy. I don't have the time. I don't have the time to really go for my dreams. I don't have the time to grow my business. I don't have the time to insert X. So let's unpack that, right? And you've probably heard that saying that everybody has the same 24 hours in a day. And that is truthful. That's real. We do all have 24 hours in a day. And it's also up to us to think about how we want to allocate that time. Now, if you're anything like the women that I work with as well, I don't believe anybody, and you listening, went into business to be booked back to back, constantly on, constantly thinking about your business, even when you're not kind of in it and doing it, probably feeling stressed out, certainly stretched to the max, possibly concerned about finances, anxious about them, that you're not in the place that you want to. I don't believe anybody went into business for those reasons. And yet, probably when we're really honest, the majority of business owners really look like that, right? They're not living the life of their dreams. They're probably more in survival mode. It's like we've got the business to a certain level. We're surviving. We're certainly not thriving. And this is where I see this time factor is coming in. I remember, listen, when I first went into business for myself, and some of you listening, you might be earlier stage business owners. I had an abundance of time. I actually had too much time on my hands. And I was going out and I was networking and I was journaling and I was planning my business, right? All the things, learning all the things that I needed to get it off the ground. And I remember then looking at an empty calendar. And then one day, frankly, it wasn't that, long a timeline either. It was probably within the first year to 18 months, my calendar was back to back. I was fully booked with clients. And I distinctly remember having the thought, I hope somebody else doesn't reach out wanting help, wanting coaching, because I simply had no space to put them. I was maxed out and I couldn't see how to get ahead. And there was a time when I was really priding myself as well. I'm going to be very honest with you. I was priding myself on just how busy I was. I was bragging about it. I was wearing it like a badge of honor. And for me back then, it was almost the mark of success when I'm fully booked, right? I'm super busy. I have no free time. I got to be honest as well, there was a lot of ego involved. Look at me, I'm in demand, right? People are on my calendar and I'm working with all of these clients. And again, that's fine for a while until I was super preoccupied, definitely getting stressed, not present for my kids. And I had to have that very honest conversation with myself first and foremost, that this wasn't the business that I'd gone into. I wanted more freedom. I wanted more spaciousness. Yes, I absolutely wanted to be doing that client work as well. And to this day, I absolutely still love my client work, and we're nearly 20 years in. But it wasn't the vision of freedom, right, that I'd gone into business for in the first place. So it started with me getting really honest with myself and then looking for, what was that model? How did I want something to be different? So let's just come back to that excuse around time. What I see with a lot of the women that we speak with is they are giving away their time mindlessly, I'm going to say, really not thinking about the value of their time, how it could be used differently, how they could be possibly outsourcing and delegating certain things. And they're giving away their time, right? This most valuable asset to many things that are not furthering their goals. One classic place that I see a lot, and probably the reason I see it is because I was guilty of it myself. And I remember an incredible mentor that I worked with. And I said to him, I kept saying to him, I want to grow my business. I really want to grow my business. I'd hired him for that. And yet I kept hiding behind this excuse of busyness. But I don't have the time. All the things that he kept saying to me, Vanessa, if you want to grow your business, you need to be doing these things, which were probably some of the things that I help with today. You need to be getting clear on who is your ideal client. What is the outcome you can promise? What is the offer? How are you going to get in front of them, right? All of these things that were foundational to me getting ahead, he was putting on the table for me to be taking action with. And yet I was over here saying, oh my gosh, this thing came up. I got so busy. I just haven't had time to get to it, right? Time was my plausible reason in my mind for not doing those things. The reality is, I was scared. All the things that he was pointing his finger at that I needed to do, I was scared. Right? I lacked perhaps the clarity around those. What if it doesn't work out? Those things were outside of my comfort zone, right? And this was happening at a very unconscious level, right? So it's later that I can look back on that and realize what was really playing out. So it was easier to be busy, right? And use this excuse of time than to really go for my dreams and what I said I wanted. Well, he was a really smart mentor. And I'm so grateful because probably about 3 weeks into my excuse telling, he really called me on it. And he said, you know what, Vanessa, you hired me for a reason. You said you wanted to grow your business. You wanted to get ahead. And for 3 weeks now, I have been listening to, I'm too busy. I haven't had the time. These things came up. And he said, you were just prioritizing everything else, everybody else, over and above your dreams and what you said was really important to you. And I was like, wow. Whew, that feels like a truth, right? That, like, he really spoke the truth into me. And the next thing he said is, show me your calendar. Let's get real. Show me your calendar. What are you spending time on? Now, all of a sudden, right, truth really got truthful. There was no hiding anymore, right? I had to share all of the things that I was doing, where I was giving away my time, allocating time to everything. But what I said was really important. One of the big things, there were two of them, I was kind of doubling up on this, was that I had volunteered on boards and I felt really good about it. It was, I'm doing great work in the community. I'm volunteering. It was the work kind of thought I should be doing as a woman, right? It was a model that I'd seen many women doing philanthropic work. I was involved in the PTA on my kids' school. I was involved in another organization. I was involved back then in the coaching federation as well. In fact, I think there were about 3 things where I was volunteering my time and it was nothing to do with furthering my business. And he said to me, you have to make a hard decision now. What's more important, right? These boards that you're serving on or your business? because you can't do it all right now. Something has to go. And with that, I had to make some tough decisions, right? I actually resigned. I was coming to term, certainly of one of them as well. And I had to announce, I think I'd even served on it probably at that point for about 4 or 5 years, that I was stepping down. And that felt like a really, really scary conversation to have. And it was scary because, not honestly because I felt like I was really letting people down. I'd given my time, I poured energy in, I'd made a valuable contribution. It was scary because now my excuse was removed for not dedicating that time and energy to my business. Well, I can tell you that soon after that, of course, my business was really taking off, right? And it was taking off in a new way. I was growing it beyond me. I was thinking about growth and scaling and what did I really want that next business model to look like for me. So I come back to you, right? And you've got to get really real about where are you using time, frankly, as an excuse. We can all allocate that resource differently. All of us can. I know from working with hundreds of women now, where I also call them on their stuff and their excuses and say, show me your calendar. Let's look at what it really looks like. And I know that there is typically a minimum of 4 to 8 hours every single week that you could be gaining back for yourself to work on your business, if you truly want to. All right, so that's one of the first steps that we have to go through is, how committed am I? How committed are you? Let me ask you that question. How committed are you really to growing your business? Because if you're committed, you'll find a way. But frankly, if you're half-hearted about it, you just find excuses. That's always the way it works. And you just keep buying into your excuses and giving them more energy, right? If you're committed, you'll find a way. So how committed are you? Only you can answer that question. And if you really are committed, now you've got to start to ask yourself, where am I making excuses? Like, get real with yourself. And as I say, time is probably the number one place. You're giving it away to people that aren't furthering your goals. You're giving it away to things that aren't furthering your goals. You're giving it away to tasks that frankly possibly don't even need to be done, could easily be delegated. Perhaps you're also volunteering your time and energy for free. And again, you're buying into an idea that, oh, it's going to be great for my business. But it's like, get real. How many clients has it really generated for your business? Right? What's it really doing for you? And then how do you want your business to start to look different? Right? We've got to get into that vision of how you want things to be different. I would really encourage you to go through and do your own time audit. Go through your calendar, take a look at it, and start to get really, really critical. Which activities are furthering your goals and which ones aren't? Get very black and white about it. Ask yourself the question as well, who are you concerned about offending, letting down? Because you're going to start to put a boundary in place. This is often the place that as women, we don't step up. We stay in people pleasing, right? We don't put those boundaries around our time because we start to have stories in our mind that we're going to offend people. I still come back to the people that really care about us, also care about us living our dreams and really stepping into that bigger vision as well. And if those are the people that don't care about that, why are we spending so much time and energy with them? Really? We have to get honest about this. So what if you were to also start to watch your language? This is something I love to do. I love to do it for myself and challenge my clients. Your language specifically around time. Start to notice, how often do you give your power away to this supposed being of time? Right? As if time were, the one that was robbing you of everything and you had zero power over it. Notice your language. Notice where you say things like, oh, I didn't do that. I just didn't have time. I don't have time for that. I've been so busy. Notice where your ego as well comes into play. Notice where you slightly puff yourself up and you're really using it, right? To, as I say, make yourself feel a sense of importance and significance, right? That's a lot of ego coming in there. But really notice specifically your language. I think you're going to be surprised at just how often you use time as an excuse and you blame time, as I say, as if it were another person, as if it was this powerful being, for why you're not getting ahead. This is going to be a fundamental step in you, frankly, getting rich, living that rich life, and also not getting bitchy, because when we're stressed out and so busy, we also get resentful. And that's when our bitchiness does show up. So I'd love to hear your insights from today's episode. Like, really, what's resonating for you? Where have you got to be more truthful? Where do you need to get honest with yourself? Are you really committed to growing that business that gives you the freedom, the lifestyle, the contribution that you say you want? Or are you just going to keep giving into those excuses? I'd love to hear from you. And I can promise you this as well. If you reach out to me personally and share some insights from this podcast episode, I will personally respond back to you. So there you have it. As always, if you have enjoyed this episode, please give a positive review. It really helps us to get more reach and reach women just like you. And share it with a friend as well. There are many women that need to hear this episode today. And of course, don't forget to hit the subscribe so you don't miss any of the great episodes that are coming next. Can't wait to catch you very soon, superstars.